I can see.
Yeah, let's see it working.
Yeah.
The page which we have opened.
Oh, it's an evening. Earlier, it was like. Thanks. Okay. Now it's. All right, welcome to the SBL pre-scene discussion for the 2024 December examination. As usual, your case involves a very niche industry. So this time it involves an industry which many of you would have been exposed to, but none of you would have worked in. So this is about conferences, events. So in this case, our company is in the events management industry. So we had faced events, but very rarely a couple of us would have been involved in the back-end operations. I hope you had gone through the whole pre-scene. Just like what I have been doing for the previous sessions, we'll be having a two-stage analysis. The first stage is where we go through the whole case study and note down the important information in a word processor. Because only when you are able to identify the core information, next stage is where you build a mind map. Because you will be in a very senior position in the tasks, probably a consultant or a senior advisor, where you will have to address the task, either evaluate the proposals of the organization, identify problems of the organization, perhaps even providing recommendations. So when you are providing such strategic opinions, you cannot ignore the overall information of the organization. You cannot just look at the cause and effect directly. You will have to look at the context of the organization. Okay. Different companies in the same industry, even if they face the same problem, their responses might differ. Some are the market leader, some are the market follower. Some have a history of 50 years, some are new to the industry. So we need to understand the context. We need to understand the context the business is situated. So if you once you had gone through the whole case, the whole pre-scene, I need you to refer and note down the main information. So once you have done this, you should be able to develop a story on what's happening in the organization. So let's go through what I had basically noted down upon my first reading of the pre-scene, right? And through this, let's understand the information given in the pre-scene. And once we are done with this, we'll go to the second stage where we will be developing a SWOT analysis based on what is given in the pre-scene. We'll find internal strengths and weaknesses and external opportunities and threats. Those are the key or else core information that can make a difference. Strengths are what the organization is good at. So you can basically utilize these strengths when you are recommending or when you are evaluating a particular proposal. Weaknesses are internal weaknesses, what the company is not performing well at. So, basically these are the areas the company needs to focus on. These are the areas that can result in further repercussions. And when it comes to external opportunities and threats, opportunities are factors in the outside environment, external environment, that can provide a gain for the organization. Where threats are factors in the external environment that can negatively impact an organization. Right? So first, let's go with stage one, where we basically note down the information in the pre-scene in a word processor. And I'll be taking you through this and see whether you can basically have a picture of the overall case study. Right. So the company that is involved is Rodnim Events. We'll be referring to this as Rodnim. So we are from Rodnim, and we are operating in the country of Holland. And we have been operating for 6 years. So 6 years ago, we had basically initiated this organization. The product we sell are typically events for corporate clients and private clients. We basically provide events or manage events for corporate clients, for businesses, and even for private clients. Can be individuals, families. It was founded by 2 personnel, and it's in the form of a partnership. Typically, when it comes to pre-scene, you always expect it to be a company, either private limited or public limited. But now you are in a partnership. And you obviously need to know, when it comes to partnership, it does not have a legal personality in most countries. So the legal obligations of partnerships, let's say things like annual reports, external audits, are not mandatory, are not legally required. So coming back, industry in Holland, let's first look at the industry information for us to understand what's going on in the industry of event management. When it comes to industry of event management, there are both large events and small events. So there are different scales of events. Clients of events have different needs. Some would have small events and large events. Examples of large events could be corporate conferences concerning all employees of the organization. And it can even include outside clients like music concerts, festivals, sports events. So now the examiner is telling you the event management market is not limited to having in a building. Musical concerts are in outdoor stadiums. Sports events is something even more. Festivals is where we celebrate an occasion. So see, all of this comes under event management. So this is the scope of the industry. Even small events, even things like weddings and parties are also considered events. So here you need to understand what our industry includes. Normally, if you think of event management, we always think about formal events, either for a conference, either for a corporate meeting. That's what people perceive. But in this industry, event management covers a broader scale. And when it comes to large events, typically in the industry, clients contract through tenders. So the client, the person who wants to have the event happen, they will basically use tenders to finalize the event management campaign. You know what a tender is. So different competitors, including us, would basically quote the price as well as the service we are providing for that price. And then the initiator of the event would basically select the most suitable proposal he wants, comparing the services and the price. So it's a tender process for large events. If you look at the global industry, the global revenue in 2023 is $1,960 billion. And they have estimated that in the next 5 years, there will be an 11% growth globally. Event management company charges 35% to 40% of ticket sales for managing the event. And corporate clients and smaller private events, in here, we will have a fixed fee agreed in advance. You will have a fixed fee agreed in advance. So now you understand globally, if you look at the industry, there's a 11% annual growth, pretty massive for the next 5 years. And normally, the event management company is obtaining a fixed fee. Yes, through the tender process, we basically quote the price, and that price is basically the contracted price. So the client will also normally pay the fixed fee. And in certain occasions, which involves ticket sales, for example, corporate conferences don't have ticket sales. Okay? But things like musicals or things that involve selling tickets, in general, if the event management company is handling that fully, they might charge around 35 to 40%. They have not given anything. They have not given any additional information. Keep this in mind. Thailand is the country that we are based in. It's an economically advanced nation. It is a prosperous nation and a pretty large country. Economically advanced, which basically says, okay, people have a good standard of living, high standard of living. It's prosperous and a large country. Typically, we have a large population. Events management industry in Holland is established and highly growing. So it's not something new for the country. It's something established. The industry is established. And it's still highly growing. Many event companies, that means competitors to us, are also operating in different scales. There are different companies, there are different event management companies. Some are operating on a local scale, on a regional scale. Some are operating on a national scale where they see clients throughout the country. And some even operate in multiple countries, international. And if you look at Holland, there are 4 large companies that dominate the company with a 74% cumulative market share. 74% cumulative market share. So market share is basically taken, we include the revenue of the organization. Total industry revenue, from that, what is the company's revenue. So here, when it comes to revenue, the main revenue for event management is the fee that is tendered. That fee. Right? The ticket sale proportion is not considered when setting the market share. Industry revenue in 2023 is $39 billion in Holland, right? So 1,960 is the global fee. Country of Holland, it's 39 billion. So if you look at Holland's proportion of market share, if you look at the global scale, it's 1.99%. Let's make it 2%. Revenue generated through events typically is around 108 billion. So industry revenue for the event management companies is 39 billion. Revenue generated through events for the client. The client is the person who is contacting the event management company. They earn a revenue of 108 billion. Yes, for example, they arrange musical concerts. They earn from this. Festivals, they earn from this. Sports tournaments, they earn from this. So it's 198 billion. If you look at the types of events, the examiners provided that there are several types of events. They have basically classified into 6. One is music concerts. Okay. Music concerts are typically done live in the venue. So we need a physical space where people come and have the music. Okay. So people are basically joining while visiting the venue. Conferences, corporate conferences. Festivals are typically social and cultural celebrations. Sports events, yeah, it involves, running a sports competition. And we had observed over the last 5 years, there have been a substantial increase on demand for sports events. And then comes private events. Private events is basically where the event is required. The client is typically a private individual. For example, events for families, events for friends. And when it comes to this sector, this category of events, there has not been significant growth over the last 5 years. And finally comes virtual events. When it comes to virtual events, events that are connected virtually. Okay. The audience of the event are connected online. So it's held live and online. This is a category of events that is growing popular. It has high popularity and growing very fast. And it has reduced the cost to participants. One of many reasons why virtual events has been very popular is first one is it has reduced cost to participants. I mentioned, yes, this has reduced the travel cost. For example, there's an event. If you can join virtually, no need to spend time traveling, no need to spend money traveling. You can save a lot of money and effort. On top of that, since it's held virtually, audiences can be from large geographies. It can be widespread. If it's a physical venue-based event, people have to visit the place. So typically the audience would be some people from the nearby vicinity. But here, when it comes to virtual, people from other countries can also easily join. That's another advantage of virtual events. So with these advantages and perhaps many other reasons, virtual events have been growing very popular. And if you look at the industry revenue based on these different categories of events as at 2023, we can see majority of revenue of the industry comes from musical concerts. Next comes conferences, and next comes festivals. So all of these are having more than 1/5 of the industry's revenue, total of 24, 27, 26, 24. 77% of the revenue of the industry comes from music concerts, corporate conferences, as well as festivals. Next comes sports events, 12%, private events, 6%, and virtual events, 5%. Now, do not make decisions solely based on the current revenue generation. We had learned virtual events has a growing popularity. Next year, the following year, this 5% might obviously increase. Private events are typically stagnating. Yes, you can't just double the number of weddings, right? Very difficult. So they have not shown much of a growth. And then they had also seen an increase in sports events. Sports events also has shown a good rise in the past. So we can or cannot expect it to continue in the future. So in the past, it has been doing well. Next is, if we identify the categories of clients in the event management industry, it can be categorized to 3 parts. First one is corporate clients, private clients, and also public sector clients. If you look at our company, our focus at the start, I told in the introduction, our clients of Rodney are typically corporate and private clients. But if you look at the overall industry, clients can be corporate, private, and one more, that is the public sector clients. Corporate clients are dominating the industry. If you can see the revenue proportion of the industry, 73% comes from corporate clients. They dominate the industry. When it comes to corporate clients, we offer all events beside private events. Obviously, companies organize musical concerts, conferences, festivals, sports, and even virtual events. Private events are typically events initiated by families, friends, individuals, not companies. So private events are typically done by individuals, families. It's not companies. Okay. So companies won't have events. If company wants to have weddings, if there's a wedding, it's basically done on a personal family base, right? So obviously private events will not be part of the corporate clientele. Corporate clientele will have demand from the remaining 5 categories. Private events, yes, we discussed. Parties, individuals, yes. Weddings are family-based. Parties can be social-based friends. Public sector clients, example, conferences for policy discussion. as the name says, public sector client. The party initiating is representing the public sector, the government. So, for example, you need to arrange a meeting or conference to discuss government policy initiated by the government. Yes, the client is the government. Major sports events organized by the public sector, national festivals organized by public sector. And recently, many events companies were contracted to conduct virtual conferences. As we discussed earlier, the demand for virtual conferences have been growing. And again, coming back, majority of the revenue comes from corporate clients to the industry. Next, public sector 23% and private individuals 4%. Now, this is based on revenue. Publics don't think private sector 4%, we don't have much. No, there are numbers. But each number, the value is relatively low comparing to events hosted for corporate clients and public sector clients. In terms of revenue, it's 4%. If you look at our clients, they have many expectations from the event management companies. There are two major expectations. Obviously, they would see a professional level of service. So event management companies are providing a service. They don't just prepare in advance and leave on the day of the event. No, they also ensure that the event is properly run on the day of the event. So clients expect a very professional level of service. And they are also expecting creative and innovative ideas. They seek creativity. They seek something new, innovative, that might give a better user experience. So if an organization wants to differentiate, they want to provide superior value, they have to make sure they do not ignore these two, right? Especially the second. Next, competitor collaboration. In terms of collaboration, are competitors collaborating? Large companies, no, they operate independently, especially the first four companies. First four companies dominate the industry. But among smaller companies, there is collaboration between competitors. So they collaborate with similar firms. For example, they refer their client to another events firm, depending on their requirement. There can be collaboration. For example, there is A firm and B firm. So both of them are event management companies. A is specializing in weddings. B is specializing in, let's say, outdoor, for example, sports, festivals. Since A and B have different target markets, the two of them collaborating will not have a loss. For example, A, during the wedding, he can basically refer B for any other event management requirements. Those plans, they might say, okay, if you need an agency for sports, for festivals, for anything else, you can contact this particular B. Similarly, B, they will also refer A for any wedding related requirements. So this is how smaller companies are willing to collaborate with other similar firms. They will not lose out their current customers. Yes, they will lose out in terms of obvious, they will share the customers, but they will not lose out their initial revenue. That's the expectation. Who knows what would happen? They go to the other company is having a better service level, better professional level of service. They can get impressed. But the idea is obviously companies collaborate with each other when they have completely different target markets, different purposes. When it comes to collaboration between complementary firms, for example, it could be from the same supply chain. There can be collaborations. Typically, we have observed strategic alliances, joint ventures among complementary firms. So that's the picture so far. We understood the industry services. We understood which service or which event purpose has more revenue. We also looked at demand prospects of each of the different types of events. And we also classified our customers into three parts. And also we looked at this extent of strategic alliances between the competitors. Next is industry-related risks. Now, these are pretty important. So the examiner has provided us many types of risks. So three types are basically from the macro environment. Okay, they have given us economic. From the pestle, we have economic, environmental factor, and legal factors. In the pestle, we have economic, environmental, and legal factors. And then internal environment, they have provided operational risks, certain risks in the industry. So if you look at the industry from the economic environment, high inflation is a pretty serious risk. The possible consequence for an organization is this can reduce the demand for events. Yes, when it comes to increased inflation, purchasing power is affected. So the demand for events would obviously be negatively affected. Rising interest rates would make the borrowing cost expensive. So competitors in any company, they might think twice before borrowing, because why? The relevant cost of capital, cost of borrowing is pretty high. Look at environmental factors, climate changes and weather pattern unpredictability. So there is a climate changing frequently to the extent there where we can't predict the weather patterns. It's basically outside the normal trend. This has resulted in possible risks of events getting cancelled or delayed, especially something like outdoor events. You imagine you having an outdoor event and it starts raining. Cancellations, postponements. That's another risk. Increased awareness of events, environmental impact. If you look at the environmental factors, society, people are basically having more increased awareness of the environmental impacts from the event management companies. This has a risk of harming the reputation if the event organizing company has any negative environmental impacts. Just for your reference, you can understand that. For example, there had been a couple of concerns, I would say, over the last decade, where let's take a sports event, for example, cricket tournament or a football tournament. Let's say it's organized by an event management company, and let's assume the audience, yes, they were there for the whole time of the match. And then we see people obviously have snacks during the 1 hour, during the competition time. And let's say they discard the waste improperly. And this will also have an impact on the event management company, because they have to ensure that waste is discarded properly without harming the environment. If it's not discarded, if it's not disposed properly, then there comes another risk. Right? Next is legal factors. We have increased health and safety legislation. It's good for the consumer, but for the event management company, there can be an increased cost of compliance. Increased legislation for data security and protection. Good, but again, due to its severity, in case of any breaches, there will be fines and sanctions. Stringent employee rights. When it is too stringent, employee can have grievances, could lead to employee disputes and sometimes even strikes. Operational risks of the organization. On an organization basis, in operations, there is an increased risk of cybersecurity. If there is cyber risks, it could lead to reputational harm and even possible litigation. Yeah. There was an incident, a long time ago where Sony, yeah, it should be Sony, yes, which was, having its PlayStation business, typically had saved, or they obviously have the information of its PlayStation accounts. So obviously, when you start an account, you give your name, you give your details, including your card details. And what happened was this information got hacked, and Sony had to penalize massive amounts. And this obviously also harmed the reputation. Unauthorized event ticket sales. Tickets for these events were also selling without authorization. This had basically harmed the revenue. Advances in technology. When technology gets more and more advanced, and if competitors are adapting those new technologies, we will have problems. Yes, one is customers can move on to competitors because of their seamless operations. Second is our current systems might obviously get obsolete. This can completely affect the internal operations. Next is technological innovations. Technology has influenced the industry in many aspects. One is live streaming. Live streaming of events. This particular facility had basically again boosted the demand for virtual events. Artificial intelligence has helped organization. This is something common for every company. Here we are looking at the event management context. This has helped us interrogate and analyze data comprehensively. Navigation and mapping applications through the apps. This has increased convenience. For example, if there is no navigation facility, when customers want to, or as when the audience wants to find where we are located, they usually keep on calling, asking, okay, where should I come? Give me a landmark. This is my place. What's the route? Let's see a simpler technology of location maps. Okay, this has increased convenience. So the event management company has very low requirement for venue guides. We need not have employees, right, responsible for contacting and directing the audiences, directing the customers, and also reduce demand for signages. No need to keep on physical signages telling where the direction is, where the location is. Reduce demand. Yes, sometimes internally within the venue we might have, but externally it might no longer be required. Finally, QR codes. QR codes are something that's frequently used for many purposes. Here, when it comes to event management, it can be very helpful for registrations, for sale and issue of tickets. You can just scan the QR and then they will know what to do, what to fill, so that we can get our things done. These are technological influences. Imagine if this technology advances and these processes even become even more easy. That is something very attractive to customers. Next is KPIs in the events management industry. The examiner stated that obviously events management in general has these KPIs, no matter what their purpose is, no matter who the client is. These are some generic KPIs for all events management companies, whether they're local, national, or international. These are some generic KPIs. So we have both financial and non-financial KPIs. It's very good we have non-financial KPIs. We can't just be purely blinded by numbers. Yes, if you get blinded by numbers, you might not know what you are missing out. What you missed out could give us greater numbers in the long run. What you could have, what you did miss, or what you missed out, non-financial terms, could bring us threats that we had ignored. So we have both financial and non-financial KPIs. Financial KPIs directly linked to revenue, fee income growth. When we are tracking revenue, we look at revenue growth of client-wise and event type-wise. Yes, if there's a client who is working with us in the long run, we will see what is the revenue from individual clients, as well as from each event type. We need to track. For example, sports event. Okay, from this sports event, this has this year's revenue been more than the last year's revenue. Next is operating profit percentage, operating profit margin. Again, operating profit margin from carrying out individual events to total event categories. Non-financial KPIs, one can be tender success rates. Yes, we discussed when it comes to large events, clients typically go for a tender process where we, along with competitors, will basically put up our proposal. So of these proposed tenders, we want to see how many tenders have we won, tender success rates. Again, this comes the sub-analysis on client type wise. Next, client satisfaction. It's not about just doing an event and leaving the client. No, we want to do business with the client, especially corporate clients. They are bringing up the massive revenue. They are amounting the massive revenue of the industry, corporate clients. And typically corporate clients, if they start an event, most of them are periodical regular events. Look at company conferences, they will have at least once a year. Company tours once a year. Company outings, very regular, at least once a year. So we need to also ensure that client is satisfied. So there's a KPI to understand what is the amount of client satisfaction. This is measured by various aspects. For example, client retention percentage. Through client retention, we can understand to what extent is the client satisfied. Client referrals. Only when a client is satisfied with us, they would refer our organization to, let's say, their family, their friends, their partners. And client feedback. From their feedback, we can also have a picture of their satisfaction levels. Environmental sustainability. So there are three non-financial factors: tender success rates, client satisfaction, and environmental sustainability. So it's good that we had also incorporated environment, because there was a risk earlier that there is increased awareness of environmental impact. So, so we had included a non-financial KPI on environmental sustainability, which is a good thing, because if you had set this KPI, that means, okay, we are trying to address the environmental impact. So the risk of increased awareness for environmental impact has been addressed to a certain extent. We don't know what happened, but we have been looking at this. Factors like from the waste, how much percentage is recycled? Water consumption, energy efficiency. These are several factors that we have been using to evaluate the environmental sustainability KPI. Pretty good. And finally, there is an industry body, which is the Institute of Events Organization, where competitors, basically event management companies, are basically part of. Their purpose, so the focus is to improve the quality, health and safety, and environmental practice of all its members, who are the members event management companies. So they are aimed at improving the quality of the service given, health and safety of the people involved. So people do not only include employees. It can be employees, it can even be our clients, it can be the audiences. And also environmental practices. Who are the members? Who are the members? They are the event management businesses. How do they do that? The IEO, Institute of Events Organizations, are setting up technical standards for the members to follow, the members to adapt, fulfill. So through these technical standards, they are trying to get their objective done. So that's all about the industry. Next comes company analysis. You want to understand what's going on in our company. Our company is rotten. So we are a small event organization business. All right. So here comes something important. We discussed earlier, when it comes to event management businesses, they operate in many scales: local, national, international. So we have large businesses, we have small businesses. We are one of those small businesses. So, and our target clients are corporate clients and private sector clients, not public sector clients. And as we discussed at the start, our business organization is a partnership, is in the form of a partnership. There are two founders, Amanda Hope and Safi Dubois. Both of them have equal ownership. It was founded 6 years ago, where the founders have prior experience in one of the largest event management companies in the country of Holland. So the founders, Amanda Hope and Safi Dubois, they have prior experience in one of the largest event management companies in Holland. So they have some technical experience, technical expertise, and they have started the company. See, so they controlling the business is fine. They are operating in a small scale. They have experience of the industry, of the business. So they controlling the partnership, making decisions. So in the organizing structure, later on we'll be seeing that the two of them, the founders, are still making decisions for the company. One of the more important information is the company does not have any collaboration. Earlier we discussed large companies don't have collaborations, but small companies, they collaborate. And even complementary businesses collaborate. But Rodnim does not have any formal or even informal collaboration. No collaborations, no cooperations with other businesses. The reason is the partners the founders wish to preserve Rodney's independence. So what's independence? Independence is simply where the company is able to make decisions. The company is able to implement the decisions they want to implement. They are not influenced by another third party. They are not influenced by another company to change their decisions. That's what the examiner has given. The reason for not having collaborations and cooperation is to have total control by the founder, to have independence. If you look at our company's organization structure, Amanda Hope is overseeing the entire events program. You can see the organization structure. Here are the founders, and both of them manage the three managers. So as we can see, each of the manager have two bosses. So there is dual reporting here. Amanda Hope oversees the entire events program, while Safi is managing the marketing and customer services. So they have clearly separated the roles. Amanda is into managing the event. Safi is basically providing supportive services, marketing and customer services. There are 34 employees. Obviously, this also includes 3 managers. And there is only one office which is located in the capital city. So the location should be in a very urbanized area. Managers, we have Mirza Hosni, Dika Nossi, and Jimmy Adfos. Mirza Hosni is the head of event planning. Dika is the head of event delivery. Jimmy is the head of business support. So planning, implementation, providing supportive services. Their work is also properly separate. Okay. So the heads are managing that. Mirza joined 3 years ago, but have over 20 years experience in the industry. So this is a veteran. Dika is 22 years of age. And they have specifically mentioned Dika is a recent graduate specialized in events management. So Dika is a recent graduate, while Mirza is a veteran with over 2 decades of experience. Jimmy has been with Rodnim from the start. That is, Rodnim was started 6 years ago. He was our first. He was one of our initial employees. He's still working with us. Rodnim employs temporary staff to support events when needed. So this basically tells you, okay, how our operation structure is. Don't limit our human resource support to just 35 employees. When we encounter, for example, large events where we lack employees, Rodney is in the practice of employing temporary staff. Small events, if we can manage the existing employees, no need to have extra employees. So if we have large events, recruit the extra employees, temporary employees. Okay. Reasonable. If this temporary employee requirement is not throughout the year, it's something on and off, it's reasonable. Because see, if they are hired permanently, there can be months where they are jobless. The company has to just pay salary. Operations. Okay, now they have given some information on the operation. So we are in the business of managing events, conducting events, managing events. So event management is typically a 6-stage process. And Rodnim has been improving the process to an extent where they can now deliver high quality events consistently. Good. So there are 6 events. So when you look at these event stages, you obviously will be familiar with the project management stages, project management process. At the start, it comes to event initiation, where the organization receives the invitation for the tender, where we agree with the customer on the specifications. For example, let's say musical concert. Now, even if it is a musical concerts, we have to know what the customer wants. We want to know the stage size, facilities required, how many number of audiences. If the audience they expect is low, go for a smaller venue. Large, go for a bigger venue. So we need to understand the event specifications. And after that, we will also have to determine with the supplier what is the success criteria. For example, they need us to sell 10,000 tickets. Okay, that's the success criteria. Having 10,000 physical tickets sold. Tickets sold. Good. So that's at the start. Before we think of even, applying for the tender, we need to know what's going on, what's the requirement. Okay, first receive invitation to tender, then we contact the client and understand, okay, what's going on in the event, what is the event, what's required. And finally, determine success criteria. For us to understand the success of the event, basically, we have to achieve success criteria. So once we have a picture of the event, next is where we plan on how to manage the event. So this involves creating a project initiation document. Project initiation document is basically a document which involves details on the project. So by referring to this, we can make a call whether are we going to go for the project or are we not going for the project. So this includes details of the project, specifications, activities, budget, timelines. So after setting up the project initiation document, obviously we'll also appoint an event manager, set up proper budgets, and then we submit the tender. This tender can be successful or this can fail. If it's successful, we can go to step number 3. If it fails, that's it. The event is normal. If successful, the third stage is where we now go for a detailed planning. Yes, we got the tender successful. We got the tender. We have got approved. So now we have to implement, right? Before implementing, we need to have a detailed planning on how we are going to implement the event. This includes scheduling, arranging logistics, as well as detailed budgeting items. And then comes event organization. Now, since we have done this and with an event manager, under the event manager, we need a team to work, right? So we now set the event team. And we now, based on the specification, we book the venue. We contract any other suppliers whose services and products are required for the event. For example, when it comes to a musical event and we plan to do in a normal ground, a playground. So we need suppliers who will basically set the stage, lightings, sounds, different stuff, roofings, seats. Many suppliers are needed. So now we contract the supplier to ensure the event is having the required support. And finally, issue tickets for the future event. And on the date of the event, we have to ensure we deliver the event properly. We need to have proper access, proper control of access in the venue. Okay, venue access should be controlled by us because event management company do not stop working before the event. No, they also have to ensure that the event is properly done. Next, they deliver event program, implementing the event as per the program, as per the plan. We deliver our event. And along with this, the suppliers who we contracted, we have to manage them properly so that they perform what they had promised to us. Finally, since the event is delivered, now after the event, we have to, there is post-event. So post-event, here we'll have a post-completion review. Once the event is done, we have completed the project. So post-completion, we have to have a review to see, have we achieved our objectives? What were our strengths? What did we do good? What were our weaknesses? What did we do bad? We have to learn from this. So that in future, when we are encountering events, we learn from what our learnings and improve our delivery. So post-completion review is pretty important. Next is we evaluate the success criteria to see, have we been successful? In first stage, we did have determined success criteria. Now you check and see, have we achieved the success criteria? To what extent have we achieved success criteria? And finally, report to plant. Report to plant, telling that, okay, the event is done. These are the results. Yes, we sold 1,200 tickets. This is what happened. This is what happened. So that's basically the process of event management. That's the operations. Next is information systems. So we have been using information systems. We have been taking the support of computers, support of softwares to operate our business. So there are 4 types of information systems that we have been using. One is event planning system. We have been using information system to plan events. One of the main benefits is we were able to break down activities further to operate better. Tasks that we were planning to do, we were able to break this even in more detail so that we can perform better, implement better, track and do it on time. So we were able to meet deadlines and also meet the budget, agreed budget better. Next is event ticketing systems. Ticketing for the event was done through information systems. For this, our company, Rodnim, had a bespoke mobile application. Bespoke is basically custom made in simple terms. This mobile app was created for our requirement. It's not a general common mobile app. It was prepared to satisfy the specific requirements of Rodnim. So through this mobile application, audience can register for the event. They can pay for the event. They can even generate tickets, QR. So tickets come in the form of QR. They can pay through the mobile app. No need to go and collect the tickets physically. No, you get the QR code, the ticket. And even you can book seats if the event has seats that are numbered. You can even book seats. Right. For example, a musical show will have audiences, right? So different prices for different placements. Some have seats, some have different levels, comforts of seats. So in that, if that's the case, companies might even think of booking seats. So that also can be done through the event ticketing system. Pretty very helpful application. Marketing systems, information system to carry out marketing activities. Through this, we have effectively promoted events that the company is managing. And when it comes to marketing, we have integrated with Rodnim's website and social media. So when the promotional message is sent, that message has been now well integrated. Website, social platforms, our digital media exposure has been pretty comprehensive. Management Information System, MIS, what we input to the system is feedback from Rodnim staff and client. We get feedback from the employees of Rodnim as well as our client, the initiator of the event. And the data obtained is organized into insights on event planning, insights during event progress, and also post-event reports. This includes data visualization tools. Which helps management make decisions. Next comes data security. When it comes to data security, Rodnim has an off-site data storage, typically done by a third party. This allows to store and retrieve data remotely and securely over the internet. Yes, it's not nice having a third party manage our data, but there's an advantage. The third party can be a specialist in this job. So in terms of security, they are experts. But the disadvantage is our data we don't control. Yes, we access. See, it's not the platform is not owned by the organization. We have to know that there is the third party owner who, if they want, can still access our information. Rodnim's website. This provides information of forthcoming public events they manage. So earlier we discussed we use marketing systems to integrate website and social media. So what our website provides additional facilities. One is through the website, the web visitor can basically know what are the forthcoming public events done by Rodnim. And through the website also we can book. They will provide details on how to contact Rodnim for any queries or even for bookings. You can contact them. How to contact is also provided here. Post comment on the experience. Yes, they can even comment on the experience in the website. A pretty good initiative so that customers can engage with the company. Customers can see feedback from their previous customers and have some sort of perception on the company. So when we see others commenting good, we feel the company is good. We might prioritize this company. A pretty good platform. So what we have to make sure that there's a risk where competitors can do harmful comments. Competitors can plan out and set some fake commenters who will have negative thoughts. So that's a risky. Let's see how competitors so cruel. Information on Rodnim and their business philosophy is also presented on website. So an extract from website is given. So unlike the past, normally in the previous pre-scenes, the website extract contains a lot of information. They basically show a full page. But in this case, for your exams, the extract is very minimal, where they have specified the mission and the strategic aims of Rodney. Let's go through this. Obviously, see, a company's decisions, strategy should basically achieve the strategic objectives. Strategic objectives are basically created based on the mission. If a company's decision or a strategy is contrary to the strategic aims, that's a big problem, because see, we are taking decisions not to, that does not support achieving the objective we want to achieve. That's something problem. Right, the extract from Rodnim, let's look at Rodnim's mission. Rodnim's mission is to provide all our clients with a top quality service, ensuring that their needs and expectations are fully met. Right? Needs and expectations are fully met. Early, we looked at two expectations: professional quality of service in general. We discuss industry. Client expectation includes professional quality of service, a professional level of service, and they expect creativeness and innovative ideas. That's an expectation. So, and our mission basically also includes meeting the client needs and expectations. Cool. We will make every event a memorable experience for both the client and everyone attending the event. So you have to always keep in mind, okay, in terms of the company strategy, are we aiming at providing a top quality service? Are we meeting the expectations and needs of the client's expectations? Are we bringing something new, creative? So if we are just following others, if you are not bringing novelty, that is an area that can be recommended. Next is Rodney's strategic aims. Number one, explore and exploit new business opportunities which may arise. We discussed when it comes to event management, the definition of event is very wide. So we can even explore and even exploit new business opportunities. Embrace and utilize innovative technologies to enhance operational efficiency. Encourage an open, resourceful, and ethical business culture. Operate in an environmentally sustainable manner. So see, the strategic aims are also in line with the, sorry, so the KPI set earlier, they are also set to evaluate, okay, are the indicators basically supportive to achieve the strategic aims. Next, we'll be looking at the Rodney's risk register. So having a risk register is a very good practice. So you know what is a risk register? A risk register is where we record every risk the company identifies, as well as the different details on those risks. What was the risk identified? When was it identified? Who identified? The details of the risk. And what is the response we are taking? What action are we taking for the risk? When did we make the decision on, when did we take that decision? Who is responsible for taking that action? Did that action happen? When did it happen? After the action was implemented, what happened? If the risk is solved or risk is addressed, it's fine. If the risk is still not properly addressed, okay, we have to again take back precautions. All of the secondary precaution, third action, fourth action, all of these are recorded in the risk register. So it's basically a book basically showing everything about the company's risk. So in Rodney's risk register, we have registered 5 different types of risks categories. Look at the strategic risk. Excuse me, give me a minute. Okay. Yeah, give me a minute, please. It's not working. Okay, thank you. Well, coming back, we discussed about the risk register and its importance. And broad names risk register contains the below. They are categorized into 5 parts: strategic risks, that is affecting the overall company. They are mentioned that the industry is highly competitive. So there's intense competition in the industry. And this has attracted possible new entrants. New firms are also trying to enter the event management industry. There's a risk of increase in new competitors that will obviously affect the market share. So when new competitors come, new entrants emerge in the industry, they will, and when they have revenue, when they take customers, they will also have a portion of market share. So our market share will decline. This market share, our revenue percentage as a percentage from the whole industry. And this may require a more competitive pricing. So due to the intense competition and especially due to the threat of new entrants, there is a possibility that we will have to focus on pricing competitively. So when this happens, the pressure on margins is pretty intense. Financial risk. Some individual events, so when it comes to individual events, some of the individual events, the actual cost is exceeding the budgeted cost. So we are spending more than the budget. And certain individual events had also resulted in losses, which is a serious risk. We are running a private organization, a partnership to earn money. So if a planned event becomes a loss-making event, that's something unacceptable. Corporate clients exposed to commercial credit terms. So when it comes to corporate clients, they are currently exposed to trading on credit, and there's a risk of bad debt. And also this has strained Rodnim's cash management. These two are things we have to look at. When there is an excess expenses over the budget, the company should have a learning culture, learning organization, where they need to understand, okay, what went wrong? Why is our actual expense exceeding the budget? What was the value? From which part did we spend more? The reason for that. And we have to make sure we learn from it. Okay? But we can't keep on continuously making such mistakes, loss-making budgets. And they have only specifically mentioned this for individual events. Okay? Next is economic risk. Performance will impact demand for corporate events and private events. So the company's performance, financials, will obviously have an impact on future demand. Increased interest rates, we discussed earlier on the macro environment. Yes, there is the interest rates are increasing. The interest rates are increasing. When interest rates are increasing, if the company has liabilities, so let's say bank loans, which are going on a variable interest, when interest rates are increasing, we have to pay more interest. This has led to us repaying debt. Rather than suffering from high interest, better repay the debt. So when we keep on repaying debt, our liquidity is affected. Next is compliance and regulatory risk. unforeseen changes in regulation and legislation can significantly impact, because we can't violate the law. So if there are some new laws, new regulations, implementing that can have an additional cost. Operational risk. IT system failures will disrupt operations and event delivery. So since it's in the risk register, that means this has happened at some given point of time. We are not sure how frequent the failure is, but this has happened. IT system failures, this has disrupted operations, and even our event might not be able to deliver on time. So that's a problem, serious problem. And certain instances where we are unable to procure the resources needed for the event. Depending on different types of events, we will have to procure different materials, components from suppliers. And in case we are unable to procure everything they want a lot, we are unable to procure everything. There can be certain stuff we are unable to obtain. That can also affect our delivery quality. The client might be unhappy. So this is also a risk. Event success is at risk. Client might be dissatisfied. If you look at the performance, we discussed earlier, when it comes to events of Rodney, we are targeting corporate clients and private clients. Revenue. Each corporate event generates more revenue and profit than a private event. Yes, if our client is a company, from one event, we earn more revenue and more profit than an event run by an individual, right? One event, right? Revenue has grown over the last 3 years. We can see, yes, revenue has grown. 2021, 22, 23, year goes up. It's around 745 here, it's around 775 here, and hit 780 here. So last 3 years, revenue has been growing. Good job. But operating profit has declined over the last 3 years. Operating profit, again, 2021, 22, 23. Don't miss the order. It goes from down to up. Operating profit has declined from around 38 million in 2021 to around, let's say, 36.55 million in 2023. So there's a drop in the operating profit. We want more sales because at the end of the day, more sales could lead to more profit. But here there's a problem going on. More sales, but less operating profit. This is something serious. The examiner has not given us reason for the reduction in operating profit. Could be due to inflation and interest rates, but we don't know specific other reasons. Corporate tenders, similarly, even if it's inflation and interest rate, we have not been informed of. Have we adjusted our prices? So we lack information. This could be certain information that can be given in your exam exhibits, perhaps. And if next comes to corporate tenders. So if you look at 2023, the recent year, we received invitations for 148 tenders. And from 148, we only submitted 128 tenders. Okay, so 20 tenders, we had not submitted tender proposals. From 128 submissions, we had a success rate of 58 tenders. We submitted 128 proposals for tenders, and out of that 58, we got the tenders. So if you take a percentage from 148, 128, we applied. So 86% of the tender invitations, we submitted applications. From the 128 we applied, for 58, we got the tender. 45% of the tenders that were applied, we won. And they have mentioned that this year's success rate was slightly better than last year. Right? So in terms of how many tenders we won, this time we had done a slightly better job than last in terms of tender success rates. We don't know the reason. Could be due to employees this year have been more competent in terms of understanding suitable tender proposals. The proposals that we say tenders are selected based on the proposal, right? The service we are providing and the price we quote. Yes, the client looks at these two and they might look at other factors like the reputation, but these are the two main things. So simply we just know these data. Is this good or bad? We do not know. Is 45% good or bad? You can't tell. Because we knew that this is a very competitive industry. If it's competitive, 45% might look good for me, but we can't objectively decide that. We need to know the data from our closest competitor or the industry average data. Makes sense, right? Remember, we are a small firm. You can't go and match the data from the market leader or the top 4 largest firms. That's unreasonable. Or a small firm. So you can take the closest competitor and compare data. If you are doing better, that means okay, yes, doing better. Or else you can go to a little more upwards. Take the industry average, which includes the largest and the smallest firms. Take the industry average and get the data. You can compare and then come to a decision there. So those comparison data is not given in the pre-scene, perhaps. If you are given it in the post-scene, make sure you do not forget this data. And in terms of client satisfaction, Rodnim has been evaluating a net promoter score from a 1 to 10 scale. This is used to measure the level of customer loyalty and satisfaction. Net promoter score is derived from customer feedback. We get the feedback from customers, and through that, we develop a net promoter score. Through this customer feedback, we will get insights on the extent to which they would recommend Rodnim to others. And we observe that 2021, 22, 23, there's a gradual decline of net promoter score from 9.1 out of 10 to 8.4 to 7.5. So this NPS has declined over the last 3 years. Typically, this could mean that there's a problem with customers' satisfaction. So customer satisfaction has also reduced contrary to the mission of Rodnim. Remember the mission of Rodnim, satisfying all the needs of the customer. Satisfying the expectations of the customer. If customers net promoter score has declined, means customer has the happiness of their satisfaction with the event delivery is lesser than the previous years. So these are basically the information from the pre-scene. So see, once you basically note down this information point by point, now you should be able to have a clear picture. Massively growing industry where the industry is highly competitive, expecting new competitors, where it's dominated by 4 larger competitors and a large amount of smaller competitors. They are of different scales. Some are operating locally, nationally, internationally. And due to the threat of new entrants, there seems to be a price war with a possible effect on operating margin. Amidst that, our company's operating profit margin has declined even though revenue has increased. So we looked at other aspects in terms of us utilizing technology, information systems, us automating our systems for ticketing, for booking and stuff through the mobile app, through websites. We looked at many aspects. Right? Good. So once you do this, from this information, now comes second stage. So in the second stage, you have to develop a SWOT. So from your note, keep in mind, from your note, which you did now, better identify internal information, external information as internal strength and weakness, external opportunities and threats, and now you have to prepare your SWOT. So this is a SWOT that was basically prepared based on our stage 1 previous mind mapping. Okay. So if we look at the strengths, let's look at the strengths first. So earlier, we discussed that we are a partnership and we do not collaborate with others. This is both the strength and the weakness. The strength is we have independence in operations. For example, we can respond quickly to the market. We can take the action which we think is right. So we have independence in operations. That's also weakness. We'll come to weaknesses later. Okay. Next is high goal congruency, because through the organization structure we saw the decision makers at the top of the management are the partners, the founders. So the decisions they take and the owner's goals are highly congruent. Founders have experience in one of the largest event management companies in Harlem. So they have prior experience in one of the major companies. That's a strength. They know how systems work. They might have contacts built in their previous workplace. And we also saw that it's very highly team-oriented operations. So when an event is being built, we set up a event manager. And then later, if the tender succeeds, we also create a separate team, and it becomes a team project. And even the organization structure is very closely littered. We can't see a lot of hierarchies. We just see the owners, and then we see 3 managers and the rest of the employees. So the hierarchies are less. So we can see that with that, based on the structure, it's more or less an organization where everyone knows each other. 34 employees, probably 3 or maximum 4 management levels. And we have adapted information systems, and we have automated many processes: planning, ticketing, marketing, management information system, many aspects. And in terms of data security, we have an offsite data storage, which enhances accessibility remotely as well as security. And in terms of website of Rodney, website is very comprehensive. It provides detailed information on upcoming events and also facilitates booking, sharing experience, good things. So see, once they share test experience, these can be testimonials as well, which can attract potential clients. Bespoke mobile app. So we have a mobile app that is tailored for the company's requirement. And this is used for many aspects, including booking and payments and ticketing as well. They give tickets through the mobile app as a QR. So this does not have a need for intermediaries. Now imagine tickets are physically given. So if the audience is somewhere nearby, they can travel and get it. But if the audience is from far, how many of them would come a separate day just to collect the tickets? So because of this, intermediaries were very high in the past. But now if the company is directly delivering the ticket, that is also through the app, the need for intermediary has minimized. Okay. You can just take your phone, install the app, click, you get your ticket done, seat ticket done, even you can book seats, then done. Strategic objectives includes environmental sustainability, ethics, and efficiency. So the company's decisions are all aimed towards achieving the objectives. And in the objectives, they have included environmental sustainability, which address one of the risks. Ethics, corporate governance, yes, which obviously would increase the level of trust and also efficiency. When the industry is in a situation where margins can be highly affected, where price wars can happen, one of our objectives is to increase efficiency, reduce wastage, reduce inputs. And we are maintaining risk register, so our risk management process is in place. We do not know are there problems, but it's there. Revenue has been growing for the last 3 years. Yes, we also know operating profit margins has declined, but the good things, revenue has been. And the tenders won has amounted to 45% of applied events. We do not know whether it's a strength or a weakness. That's why I had to put this in both strength and weakness. Told you we can't say whether it's good or bad unless we have a comparison factor. And tender success rate has slightly improved than the prior year. Something to be happy about. Next comes weaknesses. What are weaknesses? Things that competitors are doing better than us, or things that we have to improve on. Weaknesses, one is we do not have a strategic partnership with others, just like previously. It can be a strength and weakness. Strength is where we have independence, we have control over our decisions, we can respond quick. Weakness, yes, others through strategic partnership, they have synergetic benefits we do not have. And keep in mind, we are a partnership, we are not a company. So as a partnership, there are limitations. Limitations to accessing capital, limitations to networking. So we do not have strategic partnerships, and resource access and synergy is at stake. Some individual events are making losses. We discussed this. Liquidity is at risk. Many reasons. One of those reasons is due to increase in interest rates. We are working on paying our liabilities. So this has made our cash strained. So liquidity is at risk. possibility of inability to procure resources needed for an event. We discussed earlier, there was a risk there, operational risk where sometimes we are unable to provide all the resources that we require for the event. That's also weakness. IT system failures causing disruptions in event delivery. Weakness. Reduction in operating profit over the last 3 years. This is last 3 years. All the revenue has grown, profits has declined. Weakness. Net promoter score has declined from 9.1 to 7.5 over the last 3 years. Customer satisfaction has declined. Another weakness. Now let's look at external factors. External opportunities are factors in the external environment, which if we exploit could provide gains to the organization, could benefit the organization. So they have given us the overall global industry. They have not given the Harlan's industry. No problem if the overall global industry is growing, that might have a positive impact because we discussed Harlan is an economically prosperous and large country. So when events are increasing in other countries, it is reasonable to assume, yes, Harlan might have a growth. So they have given the global industry growth is estimated to be 11% for the next 5 years. This could also have a positive impact on the industry growth in Harlan. Economy of Harlan is an advanced economy. It's prosperous and large. So we can have a reasonable conclusion that, okay, demand for events could also increase because we also discussed events definition is massive. From weddings to parties to business conference to entertainment like music, sports, all of this comes under events. High growth in virtual events, attracting larger geographical coverage. Yes, it's an opportunity. So if you are able to get into this market better, we will be exposed to audiences from beyond the border. We'll be exposed to audience throughout the country, even from other nations beyond the border. Right? So this has a potential opportunity to attract additional clients. Growth in demand for sports events has also been over the last 5 years. Last 5 years, there was a growth in demand for sports events. Future has not been given. We can basically think, okay, last 5 years it has been growing. It might be able to continue. Basically, they want to say sports events that the demand has been increasing in the last 5 years. Virtual events, high prospects. Customers, so we have to have an eye on these 2 areas. Customers expect creative and innovative ideas. Customers expect creative and innovative ideas. This is customers' expectation. So if we are able to address this expectation, that means we can increase the customer satisfaction, net promoter score, customer retention can be increased. And through word of mouth, we can basically attract potential new customers. Students, keep in mind when it comes to virtual events and sports events, again, don't forget, at present, our current market, our current target market is corporate clients and private clients, not public sector. So if there are sports events public sector wants to have, they are not part of our current target market. Okay. If you ask the reason, I'm not sure what the reason is. One of the possible reason is that we are a partnership. We have fund limitations. Another reason is our business is of a small scale. When it comes to public sector, typically that is pretty big. They would include massive projects, massive events. So we might lack manpower. We might, obviously, we have 35 employees, not enough. Lack manpower, we lack manpower, lack financial sources, capital. So our capacity might not be fitting for public sector. I don't know. These are possibilities. So if you think, okay, let's recommend targeting the public sector, you also have to ensure it's feasible. If you're targeting the public sector, yes, you need to have the capacity, financial capacity, operational capacity, technological capacity, skills to do all of this. So it's when you, even at present, we are only targeting the corporate and private sector, even when it comes to virtual sports and virtual events. Right? So if they give you data, last 3 years, industry revenue from sports and virtual, and last 3 years, our company, sports and virtual revenue. Keep in mind, when it comes to industry, sports and virtual events, it also includes public sector clients. When it comes to our Sports and virtual events revenue does not have publicity balance. So be a bit more, be a bit more mindful. And earlier we looked at the industry revenue. Majority is corporate sector, minority is private sector, public sector. I think it had more than 20%. Public sector, yeah, 23%. So coming back, customers expect creativity and innovative ideas. This is an opportunity if you are able to meet the needs of the customer, expectations of the customer. We are basically delivering more value, right? And also we need to clearly understand what is our current competitive strategy. The customers expect innovativeness, creativeness. And on the other hand, we also stated that companies are competing for price. Yes, due to tendering process, they compete for price. So we'll have to properly make our strategy confirmed and align our decisions as per that. Advancement of technology can better deliver customer value. Technology is advancing. Earlier, we discussed many areas where technology was utilized in events management. So there's also an opportunity. Okay. If you're able to adapt technology better than competitors, we can deliver customer value. On the other hand, this can be a threat. Competitors are adapting direct technology more than us, especially the larger four companies. Even our direct competitors, if they access technology, utilize technology better than us, that's a threat. Okay. This can be both opportunity and a threat. Technology has made technological factors has made operations streamlined and efficient. For example, we have used ticketing, location mapping, data analysis, virtual events platform. So these are the opportunities that technology has provided in the past, and this would expand in the future. Finally comes threats. Pretty much we have a lot here. Industry is competitive. It's attracting new entrants, new firms, and competitors are operating. And we also have, amidst competitive industry, amidst having new firms, we also have competitors who are operating internationally, while we are a small firm. Market is dominated by 4 companies. A total of 74% of market share currently is dominated by 4 companies. And smaller firms, they have collaborations. We do not. There's threat there. Collaboratively, they can basically affect the other competitors. And there is collaboration between complementary firms, where we do not. High inflation, there's a risk of reduction in demand. Rising interest rates will increase the borrowing cost. Unexpected climate changes had resulted in cancellation and postponements of events. Increased awareness of events, environmental impact. So if we basically, this has a threat, this can basically affect the reputation. Stringent employee rights, where it will be difficult to have the cooperation of employees. There will be employee disputes, strikes. And cyber risk, we discussed the issue of cyber risk here. Unauthorized event ticket sales, which affects the revenue. Advancement of technology, risk of systems getting obsolete. Again, advancements of technology. Competitors might be delivering value more than us. There's a regulatory body, Institute of Events Organization, if they bring up additional regulations. Currently, how they improve the quality and monitor is through setting up standards. If they keep on increasing the standards, making it a big burden, it's a threat. Possible price wars which affects margin. It is recommended that we might have to go for price wars to save margins. So that's a big serious possibility and a threat. Margins reducing is not a small deal. Possibility of unforeseen changes in regulation and legislation. So unexpected, unforeseen implementations of additional regulations and legislations can again seriously affect the business. From a minor role of reducing our profit margins to a massive role of forcing us to change our current practices. It's kind of. So that's our SWOT. So through the SWOT, we were able to understand the major information on the internal environment and the external environment. So these are the core information that will be very helpful for the final examination. So when reading the final exhibit for the task, If there are related information here, please use it, because information here will give you a context to apply the information given in the exhibit and address the task better. So I've basically given certain concerns, certain areas that have concerns to think of. These are some areas, interesting areas, where the examiner might give additional supplementary information in the final exam. First one is, they might ask you, they might question you, get your opinion on Rodney's policy of not partnering with other companies. Earlier we discussed the pros and cons. Next, data storage is kept off-site and it is outsourced. You will have to judge the appropriation. We discussed earlier, outsourcing, there are both pros and cons. The disadvantage is you don't have control. You are handing your data to a third party, you don't have control. There might be data leakages. Yes, normally they don't do. They have to ensure their credibility. But see, we don't have control over data. Advantages, it's given to a third party who are experts in this. So there will be more security. And it's kept off-site. Yes, we can access remotely. And also we can have safety against data getting destroyed. Next is tender winning data. They have given us, we have obtained our rate, tender winning rate. Is that good or bad? We do not know. They might provide supplementary information in the final exam. Reasons for declining operating profit, we do not know the full reason. Revenue growth is approximately 2.32% over the last 3 years. Now, guys, they have not given the past industry growth rate, but next 5 years, global industry growth rate is given 11% per year. We discussed earlier, one of our strengths is for the last 3 years, our revenue has grown. If you take the revenue, you can see revenue has grown in the last 3 years. Revenue has grown in the last 3 years. Here it's around 745, let's assume. And here it is 780. So over 3 years, we had this growth. Now, again, we have to see, is this growth? Obviously, it's a good thing, but is it good enough? Competitors are having growth better than us, then no, that means, okay, that's a problem, right? So we were only given global expected growth rates, future growth rates, 11%. But our last 3 years, average annual growth rate is 2.32%. Per year, 2.32%. This is another thing. I can't finalize because this is global rate is 11%. We earlier discussed global revenue versus our revenue, 1.99%. Small amount. So you can't directly apply 11% to us, but that's the only data that's given. So you might be given supplementary information telling the industry's growth rate in the last 3 years or competitor revenue growth rate. This is the information. And we are one of the smaller firms. Information on competition intensity is not given. In general, competition is very intense. Where people have to address price, we'll have to reduce margins. That's general context. We are a smaller firm. We'll have to see what is the specific impact to us, the intensity of the threat of that. We are a partnership. And we earlier discussed, okay, due to high interest rates, we were repaying our debts. So we are currently experiencing liquidity risks, cash strains. And since we are a partnership, our access to external funds are limited. It's a publicly limited company, we can easily issue shares. Partnership is not a legal entity in many countries. So even if you are going for a bank loan, we need to have enough securities, collaterals. So we have a bottleneck in terms of how many sources of funds we have access to. Impact of technology to us. Again, if competitors are able to adapt and implement technology better than us, it becomes a threat. If we are able to exploit technology better than competitors, it becomes an opportunity for us. Yes, what is the current impact of price wars? We saw our operating margins reducing. But we'll need to have better data. And even if our operating margin is reducing, we have to compare what is happening to our competitor. Are they also having their margins reduced? To what extent? They are having slight operating margin reduction. We are having more operating margin reduction. That means again we have to improve. Even if competitors are worse than us, again we have to see what can we do to improve. Internal controls for fraud, error, inefficiencies, quality issues. We don't have information on these. Earlier we discussed customers have two major expectations: general expectations, professional level of service, and increased novelty, innovation. And again, later, due to our customer scores, net, it's called net promoter score. Again, it has reduced. Customers' satisfaction has reduced. Again, it's a matter of quality there. Again, operating margins have reduced. Were there any other additional inefficiencies which we could have addressed? Fraud and error, no information given, lack of information, we can't comment on those. Reasons for net promoter score declining, we have to find out what is the actual reason. And are the IT system disruptions frequent, and the reasons? We discussed in the risk register. IT systems have a disruption which had also affected delivering the event on time. So is this one-off or is this something frequent? If it's frequent, what's the frequency? What is the reason? They might give you an exhibit on this and they might give you a task on providing some recommendations, internal control recommendations. Right? So these 12 points, guys, keep this in mind. As the examiner has stated, do not predict questions. If your prediction comes, it's fine. If your prediction does not come, that will basically make you dissatisfied during the exam, which is not a good thing. The examiner can give you an exhibit which has not been touched in this precinct. So you can't estimate certain tasks. Some tasks can come from this. However, have an eye on this, because all of this information are taken from your SWOT. Yeah. Right. So that was our summarized and comprehensive discussion on the SBL pre-scene for the 2024 December examination. And I wish you all the very best. And guys, always keep in mind, please make sure that you understand the pre-scene information and have a proper mind map. Even though in the final exam, the tasks, you are given marks for the task has an associated exhibit, but this pre-scene will put you into context. And that's it. And I hope this session had benefited you and made your exam preparation more steady. Good luck.
Field class കഴിഞ്ഞു അപ്പൊ ലൈവ് സ്ട്രീം ഓഫ് ആണ്.
Okay, okay.
ലൈവ് സ്ട്രീം അത് ആരാ കൺട്രോൾ ചെയ്യണേ?
Oh.